Hi everyone, I'm Nasser Hussain and I'm here with Ricky Ponting and we're going to be interviewing each other to find a few things out. Right, first up Ricky, I've not seen these questions by the way.
Did you write it?
No, I've not, no. What was your favourite cricket venue in the world?
Would have to be the MCG. We were lucky enough to play, obviously, Boxing Day Test there. You get 90 odd thousand, maybe over 100,000. One day finals used to be played at the MCG. I actually managed to get a few runs there as well. So, yeah, thanks. So I'd have to say the MCG.
Utter nonsense. How can you choose the MCG over the MCC and Lord's Cricket Ground? This is the best place to play, if just for the lunches, to be honest.
0 Test hundreds at
That's
Lord's.
why. Have you not got 100 here?
I've got a one day 100, no testing.
You've got to be a good player to get one day 100 here. For me, Lords, absolutely. Right, next question. Best player you've played with? You've played with a few greats over the time.
Yeah, best player would have to be Shane Warne. Reinvigorated spin bowling all around the world. You know, he was such a natural at what he did, and bowling leg spin is not a natural movement. So, Shane Warne, the best player that I ever played with. You?
For me, someone who played Shane okay, actually, Graham Gooch. I played with Graham at Essex. I used to sneak over the fence at Valentine's Park, Ilford, to go and watch Gooch bat for Essex. Just a phenomenal player, of fast bowling and spin bowling. Anything he sluggered with was a little dibbly-dobbly. Terry Orderman.
Yeah, exactly.
Used to get him out LBW for fun. So, but Graham was just an incredible player. Go on, you ask the first one.
Something you admired about the other person's style of play?
Oh, I mean, sickly question that is. Something I admired about Ricky. This is easier for me to answer than you, by the way. Something I admired that pull shot, because I stood at mid-on or mid-off with my bowlers and they'd bowl it slightly full and Ricky would just drill it past mid-on. I used to have a very straight mid-on, but Ricky would still, so they looked at me as if, what do I do? And I said, well, just pull your length back a little bit. He's on that front foot a lot. They'd pull their length back that much and Ricky would just, that big pull shot he used to play for 6. So the pull, I would say. Yeah. I mean, you've got so much to choose from me.
Well, I would say cover driving for Nasser. Would you say that was one of your better shots?
My only shot, yeah.
I'd say, I wasn't narrowed down that far, but I would say cover driving. He had a very neutral grip on the bat, and a slightly open bat face, even the way that he tapped the bat on the ground, which made that cover drive of his an easier shot to play. So that's what I'm going with.
Thanks, Rick. Best sledging memory?
Oh, the funniest story I tell, I think, was Mark Waugh and Jimmy Ormond, actually, at the Oval. I'm not sure if you've heard this story, but...
Can you tell it, by the way?
I can. No, it's actually very funny. Okay. It's very funny. So, Mark, it was pretty clear early on that Mark didn't rate Jimmy Ormond the way that he was bowling, and every boundary he hit him for, he'd say something like, can't believe you're playing a test match. You wouldn't get a game for Canterbury Bankstown. New South Wales wouldn't even look at you. And this went on and on. Mark got 100. And then right at the end of it, Jimmy had enough, and he actually went down to Mark Waugh and looked at him and said, I might be pretty average, he said, but at least I'm the best player in my family. So I actually thought that was quite funny. What about yours?
I've got 2, one very recent, one 2 days ago actually, but the one I was playing against Queensland. England were playing a warm-up game at Queensland, and Ian Healy was keeper and Stuart Law was at extra cover, and I'd played 5 years with Stewie Law at Essex, and Stewie Law said to Healy, he said, do you want to field her up in front of Nasser's nose at Silly Point? He gets out there and Heels looked at me and went, with the size of that nose, you'd have to be 3 miles away in that field, Stewie. So, and the recent one is you on commentary the other day.
Me?
Yeah, you were waffling on about, because Australia had won 14 games in a row, and Ricky went, we won 16 in a row as a test match. So all the commentary box were like, well done, Rick. And I said, well done, Rick, you've won 16 in a row, well done. And he looked at me with those eyes of yours. You're an angry man, aren't you?
No,
you said, did you even win 16 tests ever in your career, Hussain? So I got a little bite from you. I don't think I did, actually. I checked with Richard, our statistician. I'm not sure we did, but that's a different story.
Hang on, you know me better than that now. I think I've broken down a few barriers, haven't I, as far as being angry.
We just did a replay of you getting out on this ground here, caught behind down the leg side. And
20 years ago. That's 20 years ago.
I thought I was an angry cricketer, but you are an angry cricketer.
First impression of one another.
Well, that's mine. My first and last was angry cricketer. I sledged him once in Melbourne. I might have mentioned his height in Melbourne. I got a volley of abuse from everyone, including Ponting, for the rest of that series.
You mentioned my height. How much taller are you than me?
Not a lot. But I didn't have anything else to abuse you on, so...
Well, I would say the same thing, because I actually think you were quite a grumpy captain.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're losing the Ashes in 11 days, I still hold the record for losing the Ashes in 11 days, by the way. What is there to be cheerful about? Not a lot.
No. Angry man.
Right. Go on, you go first. I'll go. Proudest moment in my career, easy one. Well, two, if I can. Captaining England, obviously. I mean, to ring my old man up who'd moved from Madras to England for his lads and daughters' education, and to ring him up and say, Dad, I'm now England cricket captain, was the proudest moment of my career. But on the field, the double 100 against Australia at Edgbaston. I'm telling you my story. You're not looking at the cricket.
I'm listening.
You're watching the cricket, and I'm telling you my proudest moment.
Yeah.
Most boundaries by an Englishman in an Ashes battle.
Was it?
Yeah, against McGrath and Warne. 207 with me mate Thorpe at the other end. What was your?
I wasn't playing. I was sitting in the dressing room watching that one. If I had been out there sledging, and there's no way you would have got the 200 in that game. Proudest moments, probably similar. Test debut, like actually getting the chance to represent your country, was a proud moment for me. I had my family over in Perth. We played Sri Lanka, so that was one. Yes, captaining my country, although I'd never really thought about it, because if you think about the teams that I played in, even as a junior, I was always the youngest in the team, and my state team I was the youngest, and when I became captain of Australia, there were Warne and Gilchrist and these guys that I thought would be ahead of me, so that would be a very proud moment. But the best memory I have is actually winning a test series against South Africa in South Africa with that new team that we had, and walking off the field. So, Phil Hughes, Marcus North, Andrew McDonald, Ben Hilfenhaus, all these guys in the side, and I deliberately walked to the boundary. I probably played 130 tests by then. I walked to the boundary and watched those guys walk off the field and saw what it meant to them. So that'd be the proudest moment of mine as a captain of a cricket team.
It might not be on here, but can I ask you? For me, it's fairly easy. Like however many hundreds, 15 or whatever. So the double 100 was like that and daylight. What about you? Your best innings in any format for Australia? What was the thought, Rick? That was unbelievable innings.
Well, as far as just batting goes, I made back-to-back double hundreds against India in Steve Waugh's last series. So 242 at the Adelaide Oval, 257 at the MCG. So as far as pure batting goes, that's probably as well as I could play. But the innings that I was most proud of was 2005 Manchester, batting through most of that fourth innings, and I think I got out with about 8 or 9 balls to go or something, maybe a bit more than that. Might have been 3 or 4 overs, and Glenn McGrath was walking out at number 11, so I wasn't that confident that we're going to get through.
Right. Any regrets from your playing days?
No regrets. You?
No, I don't think so. I've always felt when I retire, make sure you get the most out of your ability, so you can just say 96 test matches or whatever, however many runs, captaining England, did you do your best? Did you give it your all? And that's all you can ask for.
Well, and people will probably, so both of us have been guilty of the same thing, right? Both of us have been tarred with the same brush from winning a toss and potentially bowling when we should have batted.
Yeah.
But even if you look back, I don't have any regrets about that at all, because at the time you think you're doing the right thing. The results go whichever way they do. But I've always looked at that and equated that. So if, let's say, when you win the toss and bat and get bowled out for under 100, that's a worse decision probably, but no one talks about it. So I would imagine people are probably expecting us to say those, but I don't have any regrets about that at all.
No, as long as those mistakes you make were your own feel and gut feel, and you thought was the right thing at the time, as opposed to someone said you should have a bowl first and then you do it, even though you thought, really, do you know what, I should be batting? If you think it was the right decision, that's what captaincy's about for me, your gut feel. Otherwise, anyone could do it. If it's captaincy by committee, anyone could do it. So make your own decisions.
Favourite current player to watch?
I would say I like Rohit Sharma, I have to be honest. I just think batting is so hard. It's such a difficult ask, but Rohit makes it look so easy. Batting, I always felt rushed. When you're facing any bowler, you feel a bit like you're out of time. Rohit seems to have so much time to play a shot, to play that pull shot, a little bit like him, that pull shot that he plays or whatever. So Joe Root for England in world cricket, Rohit Sharma.
Yeah, I was going to mention Joe Root. Thinking about it, you could nearly mention the whole Indian batting line, couldn't you?
Especially if you want a gig in India as a coach. And
that's already locked away. That's done. I don't have to say that.
Sorry, you've already got that. Yeah.
No, but when you think about it, we'll start with Rohit. You think about Shubman Gill. Yeah. I like watching him play.
Yeah.
Think about Rishabh Pant. I like watching Rishabh Pant play. Yeah. And you got Virat somewhere in the middle of that. Yeah. So there's a lot of them that you could mention. I'm not sure how much you've seen of a guy called Sanju Samson in T20 cricket. He's a lovely player to watch when he's up and about and going as well. I like watching Josh Butler bat in the shorter formats of the game as well. So you can reel a few off there. Test cricket, the real purists of what I like to watch. Root's obviously one of those. Kane Williamson's one of those. So across a lot of different formats there, but different ways to skin the cat as far as scoring runs.
Cricket idol?
My favourite players growing up were Kim Hughes was my favourite Australian player. Didn't play a lot of Test match cricket, but I loved how flamboyant he was and the way that he took the game on. Hooking and taking on the West Indies without a helmet, those sort of things. And then I had David Boone, who was from, my hometown in Tassie, from Launceston. Played 100-odd Test matches and gave me a bit of a path to follow. So they'd be the two that I looked up to the most.
I've mentioned Gooch, but it was probably one of Gooch's big rivals or teammates in David Gower. They didn't always see eye to eye, but my hero growing up was Gower. The way he used to flick those balls through the offside, the cover drive, the sort of languid bat swing, just beautiful to watch. I remember playing against him. He came out with like blue socks one day, orange socks the next, and I was at extra cover going, right, what's this timing about with David Gower? And he just nailed one past me at extra cover. But of all time, I'd say Shane, someone that we play. Shane Warne played cricket the way it's supposed to be played. He was utter genius with the ball. The things he did with the ball, and the way he was, he'd have been the best person to captain and probably at times the worst person to captain. But I think we both had a massive admiration for Shane. Would that be fair enough? I don't know if he's our idol, but if you want someone to play cricket as an entertainment, surely.
There's absolutely no doubt about it. The story I always tell about Shane is I'm thankful I only captained him from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then after that someone else could look after him.
Is that it? No, toughest opponent. There you go, toughest opponent. I've gone early there. All right. Murali, I found very difficult to pick. Could not pick. I remember Paul Collingwood once coming down to me and saying, just watch the way the ball's spinning. And I was like, with my eyes, yeah, okay, Collie, thanks. Courtney Walsh used to get me out for fun because of that angle. He used to look like it was coming in all the time, so you think it's coming in and it would just hold, and I'd follow it every time with the curtain rail and I'd nick off and he'd sort of think, he'd look at me as if say, have you ever played for England? But toughest, and that's the key word in there, toughest, I'd go Shane, because he, in that 2005 Ashes series, when the Aussies were like that, who was standing up, Ponting with the bat and Warne with the ball, so toughest was Warne.
Yeah, I'd have Murali in there as well. Playing a lot of Test matches against him in Sri Lanka wasn't easy. Anil Kumble was a tough opponent in India. Harbhajan Singh probably got me out as much as anyone in international cricket. So the spin bowlers there, fast bowlers, the best two that I played against were Ambrose and Akram by a long way. So there's a few names there.
What was that series, that famous series? What year was that when Harbhajan was all over you? That was incredible watching that.
I think I had 8 runs or something in my first 2 tests. I think I doubled my tally in the first innings of the last of the third Test match. But the story about that is we actually played them in a warm-up game. We were going there wondering who India's spinners were actually going to be. Harbhajan was only really young, maybe 18 or 19 at that stage, and we played him in a warm-up game. I got 100 in each innings of the warm-up game. I remember coming in saying, if that's what they've got, boys, we haven't got too many worries at all. Well, it didn't backfire much on me, did I think he got 36 wickets maybe in 3 tests. And that was the emergence of Harbhajan Singh.
All down to you.
All down to me.
A word to describe one another as a player and a pundit, outstanding player, and this is not one word, by the way, ahead of the curve as a pundit, because Ricky often will say things and then like 2 balls later it will happen or whatever. He'll say, watch out here, Phil Salt's going to nick off, or watch out here, something's going to happen, and often it does.
I'm openly said that I think Nasser is probably the best broadcaster in the world and that I've worked with, and that's yes, he's sitting there, but I've said it when he's also not been sat there as well. Even today, going back to a series here in 2005, I think you said that was your second year in the commentary box. You just knew that, it just came really naturally to him, and I get the chance. Like I like to watch the game closely, and he said then predict things, but that's one side of it. But be able to get your point across as clearly as Nasser does is an art within itself. So
that's enough of the niceties and pleasantries. That's it, I think, isn't it? That's it. Well, thanks for watching that. It's always a pleasure having Ricky over in the summer. Hopefully we'll have him back many times in the future.